Lesson 18, Real Eyes and False Eyes. In our previous lessons, we have learned a variety of capturing techniques. Starting from this lesson, we are going to learn techniques related to life and death. In WeiQi, we usually have two different ways to capture stones. One is related to liberties, which includes all the various capturing methods we learned before. And the other is about life and death. So those life and death problems we often talk about. The concept of life and death problems you've heard of is exactly about this. It usually determines the life and death of a group. And the concept of life and death is very closely related to the I space. That is to say, in previous lessons, we learned the techniques related to liberties for survival and capturing. But starting from now, we are going to learn life and death techniques that are related to the I space. First, let's talk about exactly what an eye is. In our previous lesson, content, we learned about the tiger's mouth as a shape. Now, pay attention to this spot. As we mentioned before, the tiger's mouth acts as a trap as well. If a white stone plays right into it, black can immediately capture the white stone. But now, we are going to introduce a brand new concept for it, called the I space. This position is the I space. Once black plays a stone right here, it turns into an eye. So we can clearly see, right now in the center, 4 stones have formed an eye. While on the side, it takes 3 stones to form an eye, and 2 in the corner. Okay, first, we must understand that all these enclosed intersections are called eyes. Of course, we have also learned before that these intersections are actually for white or for black, forbidden moves. Let me correct that. I misspoke just now. We learned before that these positions are actually forbidden moves for white. Okay, let's continue talking about eyes. So, if this position is called an eye, which we already know, now please pay attention to this position in the center. Black has 4 key positions, and we call these positions the corners of the eye. These 4 spots are the eye corners, while on the side, this position and this position are the 2 eye corners. And in the corner, this spot is the single eye corner. So up to now, we have learned a total of 3 different concepts. The first is that when a tiger's mouth shape appears in the center, this is called an eye space, and after playing a move, it forms an eye. And once formed, these positions on the edges are called eye corners. Why do we need to learn so many of these concepts? Next, we are going to tell you what a real eye is and what false eye is. Please note that after forming an eye in the center, we need to look at the eye corner positions. A real eye in the center must occupy at least 3 eye corners. Please take a close look. This is called a real eye. As for on the side, you must make sure to occupy both of these 2 eye corners. This is also a real eye. In the corner, there is only one eye corner, which we must securely occupy. Please remember this concept first. A real eye in the center needs at least 3 eye corners. On the side, it needs 2 eye corners. And in the corner, it needs 1 eye corner. These are what we generally call real eyes. Next, let's take a look at what a false eye is. We just mentioned that the center must have at least 3 eye corners. So let's do a little experiment. If black now only occupies this eye corner and this eye corner, black occupies 2 corners, and white manages to take the other 2 eye corners, then this eye is a false eye. Let's talk about why it is called a false eye. It is because once black's outside liberties are tightly reduced, white will eventually be able to form an Atari shape. So at this position, black will be forced to connect. So the eye space at this position will disappear. We can try it with black. Assuming it occupies these 2 eye corners, it is the same logic. If white manages to take this position, we can place a few more white stones on the board. Okay, although black's liberties haven't been reduced just yet, we still consider this position to be a false eye. Because by the time we finish playing this game, these liberties will definitely be filled, move by move, by both players until they are completely tight. And eventually, when liberties are tight, black will still be forced to connect back. So, a place like this that requires fixing later on is what we call a false eye. Now let's look back and see exactly why we said we need 3 eye corners to make a real eye. It is because with this shape, white has no way to eventually form an Atari. So this kind of shape is a real eye. And on the side, if we set up a similar shape, suppose black only occupies 1 eye corner and white takes the other eye corner, then we can easily foresee that this stone will be put in Atari. For example, let me set up a slightly more extreme shape. Let's set up a shape like this. We can see this shape is a bit tricky. There is an eye here, and also an eye over here. But please take note that both of these are false eyes, because the eye corner white occupies in the middle destroys both of black's eyes at the same time. Since both of these eyes only occupy 1 eye corner, so if we imagine when white reduces the outside liberties in the future, will it form an Atari? Right, we have learned that at this point, it becomes connect and die. So when white makes a move here, black might have to go back and connect here or connect here. Then white puts black in Atari, and eventually connecting will form this shape. Therefore, it is a false eye. A false eye will eventually be completely eliminated by the opponent through Atari. So we say to become a real eye on the side, you must occupy 2 eye corners, and the corner is the same. You absolutely must occupy this 1 eye corner. If it gets taken by white, we will see that this eye is a false eye, because white can form an Atari here in the future. Okay, next, let's talk about another concept. Let me ask, suppose black now forms an eye shape, just like this, in the center. Would we say this eye is a real eye or a false eye? Notice that black currently only occupies two eye corners, and these two positions are left empty here. We usually say this kind of shape is a real eye. Here, we are introducing a concept called my eye. The meaning of my eye is that there are two or more points of equal value on the board, where if you take one point, I will simply take the other. And no matter who plays first, both sides can ensure their interests are not harmed in the end. According to a common saying, you are bound to get one of the two. That is the meaning of miai. Let's look at this eye. It actually contains a miai shape. Although black currently only occupies two eye corners. But next, if white decides to play a move right here, black can simply play at this position. And then black will have formed three eye corners. Similarly, if white plays at this position, then black can also play at this position, also getting three eye corners. So for this shape, although black only occupies two eye corners, due to the existence of miai, we say this eye space is also a real eye. Of course, we can switch to another shape to see. Suppose there is a white stone at this position. Then let me ask, is this eye space still a real eye? Oh, of course, I might place a few more white stones around it. But as long as we understand the general idea, it is that these two positions actually become a false eye due to the existence of miai. Because these two eye corners are taken one by each side. Black has no way to play at both of the eye corners. Black can only occupy two eye corners, so it is definitely a false eye. This is the meaning of miai. Actually, the concept of miai doesn't just play a role when we are making eyes. Miai will have its uses in many different situations, just like in the capturing lessons we had before. What we learned in the last lesson, creating captures through Atari. That Atari move actually carries the meaning of miai. When I put you in Atari, on the next move, I can capture your stones, or I can choose another capturing method to capture you. And as the opponent, whether you try to connect the stone in Atari or face the other stones being captured, it is hard for you to save both. So this concept of miai is very important. Finally, let's take a moment to review the content of real eyes and false eyes from this lesson. We learned that this position in the middle is the eye space, because only when there is an eye space is it possible to make an eye. Okay, now we have made an eye, but to make it a real eye in the center, you must occupy three eye corners, while on the side you need to occupy two eye corners, and in the corner you need to occupy one eye corner. So if these positions are taken by the opponent, for example, white takes two eye corners in the center, or white manages to take one eye corner on the side, or white manages to take the only eye corner in the corner, then we will call all of these positions false eyes. That will be all for the content of this lesson.